morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're welcome to the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network International one-on-one interview with Princess Nwakego Ibrahim-Pam. This interview is purely to celebrate and recognize women who have achieved successes in their leaderships and in their private life. It's a storytelling session where our guest speaker will tell us about her life, her family background, her educational background, her impact, her inspiration, and her plans for the future. And through the lens of her story, she'll be telling us how she's been able to cope with the difficulties of being in a men-dominated profession, how she has broken the glass ceiling, how she has invested in women, what is her role in entrepreneurship and innovation for women, and more especially how she's been able to cope with work and life balance in her career. And especially this time around, we want the speaker to touch on how, as a woman, you should prepare for retirement. So I would like to welcome my friend, my sister. We've been working for the past, how many years now, Liz? Since I came to Ghana in 2018, 19, for us to open a chapter of the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network in Ghana. So we've been working closely. She has been a very supportive and impactful member of the network. And today we want to hear her story and the impact she's had in the various lives. So as we welcome Ms. Elizabeth Asare to join me as I pin her, and we are welcome, Liz. And before
Thank you.
you're welcome, nice to see you. I'll just read a little bio of yours, and then you take on the introduction yourself, how you want people to recognize you. So Elizabeth Asare is the Deputy Chairperson of the Governing Board of the Right of Information and Commission. She has 36 years of media experience and holds a master's degree in governance and leadership. She served in the board of the National Theatre of Ghana as the media representative from 2014 to 2016, and the board of the Ghana Red Cross as the public relations advisor from 2008 to 2014. She rose through the ranks to become the chief reporter and acting news editor of the Ghanaian Times from 1988 to 2002. She has an excellent communication skill and has sat as a member of the several newspaper review panels. Miss Elizabeth Asare, you are welcome. Welcome to this
Thank you.
interview. And I love the background you're coming from, communications. This is an area that make or break you. So we really want to hear how you've used communication in your leadership, how you've used communication for the impact, how you've used communication to bring together across continents. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. You want me to start by introducing myself?
Yes, introduce
So let me,
yourself by telling us about your family background and then your educational background, and then we'll ask the audience to interact with you, and then
okay.
continue.
Okay, so let me start with my family. I'm from a big family. There's 10 of us children. So with my mom and my dad, there's 12 of us. My father was a high court judge. My mother was a nurse. So being in a big family, school was not an excuse. That's one thing that I started with. It didn't matter whether you were a girl or you were a boy, both parents were educated, so you had to go to school. So I did primary schooling in Ghana. I was born in the UK anyway, but I came to Ghana at the age of 2. I did my primary schooling in several schools because as a judge, my father was transferred from region to region, and each time he was transferred, he took his family with him. So my primary schooling was across 5 different primary schools. Then I did the common entrance and went into a prestigious girls' secondary school. If I mention the name, some people will be jealous, so let me hold it for now. So I went to one of the prestigious secondary schools in Ghana. And then from there, I did my tertiary education in journalism. But as a family, 4 girls, 6 boys, I grew up knowing that there was nothing cut out for the boys or cut out for the girls. So everybody had chores, we all did chores. And let me state that my mother is not Ghanaian. My mother is from Barbados in the Caribbean. So she had a different perception of how to bring up her children. So both boys and girls did chores. It didn't matter whether it was cooking, whether it was cleaning the car, whether it was polishing furniture. It didn't matter what. Both boys and girls, hands on, we had to learn and we had to grow with it. So that's how I grew up. Going into a prestigious secondary school like Wesley Girls High School, I also had a lot of training. Both, it was not only academic. When you go into Wesley Girls, everybody thinks that because Wesley Girls does very well, it's all academic. But no, there's that other side of it where you have house chores to do in Wesley Girls. And then again, you have social responsibilities. So there are various curricular activities. So you have to belong to either Red Cross, Girls Guides, the Cadet Corps, whatever. You always have to belong somewhere. So that's a bit about my background. When it comes to tertiary, I struggled a bit because saying that my parents were both educated, both of them had their own perception of what they wanted me to be. So in the beginning, it was difficult for me to choose what I wanted to be. My daddy wanted me to be a lawyer because he was in the judiciary. My mother wanted me to be a doctor because she was in the health sector. So I struggled with that a bit. Growing older, I came into my own. And I decided that let me settle for journalism because I am good at communicating. I'm good at relating to people. If I meet you the first time we start talking, you think that you have known me for years.
Exactly.
And I realized that that was a plus for me. So I was like, okay, let me go into journalism because with that, apart from the travel, which was exciting for me, because I'd read a couple of books where the journalists or the news reporters traveled without buying their own tickets, had their hotel bills paid and all like that. So that for me was like very welcoming. Why can't I travel without having to spend my own money? So then I settled for journalism, much to the chagrin of my parents. My parents didn't want me to go into journalism. Later, I understood why, because female journalists at the time were not hailed, were not recognized, were not praised. If you went into journalism, at the time I went into journalism, you were seen as a prostitute. You were seen as somebody who wanted other means to make an end. And they felt that if you wanted to get good stories, then it means that you had to sell yourself to be able to get those stories. In our time, that was the way it was. So in the 80s, in the 70s and in the 80s, female journalists in Ghana were not really respected, even though we had a few. But I was adamant. I said that we could change that. We could change that narrative. So I went into journalism. And God being good, we have changed that narrative. So you have more female journalists in Ghana today than we had back then. So then that is when my professional journalism started when I finished my tertiary education in 88. And then I started with Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. So I did a bit of broadcast journalism, but I felt that that wasn't for me. And again, a lot of people had a problem with me then with my accent. My accent then wasn't my accent today. I've tried to speak more like a Ghanaian today than I used to speak then because of my mother. And so I realized that it was difficult fitting into broadcast journalism. So I went into print. And that's how come I ended up with Ghanaian Times. And Ghanaian Times was a state-owned media, or is a state-owned media. And in those days when I started journalism, there was only the Graphic, the Times, GNA, and GBC. And they were all state institutions. So that's where I started. But as time went on, I moved away from that. And let me give you a bit of how come I ended up being in governance and leadership. So in Ghanaian, when I was working in Ghanaian Times, I realized, or we all realized that I was doing well, so I was rising quickly. I remember one of my seniors told me that I'd gotten where she was in 8 years when it had taken her almost 20 years to get to where I had gotten to at that time. So we were more or less at par. But then things changed for me because I did all kinds of reporting. I started with rural reporting, and then I went into health reporting, then I did gender, then I did economic reporting, and then I ended up in Parliament as a parliamentary reporter. Whilst I was in Parliament, the Ghana Journalists Association president at the time was invited to Sierra Leone to facilitate a seminar. And she wasn't able to go. So she said to the United Nations Information Center director that I can't make it to Sierra Leone, but I'll give you somebody who is competent. And to date, I question myself as to why she thought that I was the competent one. So she gave my name to the lady. She came to Parliament looking for me. I wasn't there. She went to my office. I wasn't there. I got from Parliament to my office, and then I was told that the United Nations Information Center director was looking for me, but she had left a number. So I called her, and then she said that, oh, the GJA president says that you should go to Sierra Leone to facilitate the seminar for me. This was when, just as the Sierra Leonean crisis was ending. So you can know the trepidation that I had. Why would I want to go into a war-torn country to help them out? And my family also was not too comfortable with it. So I had to do a back and forth, both family, both office, but I ended up going to Sierra Leone. And let me say that my going to Sierra Leone was made easy because my husband was supportive. My husband said to me, look, you go. I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure there's something that the GJA president has seen in you, and she can confidently say, you go to Sierra Leone. So then I went to Sierra Leone. After that conference, I realized that it was important for me to get into governance and leadership because that was where I was being led towards. Being in Parliament and reporting from Parliament, there's a lot of governance and leadership issues that I needed to have under my belt. So I decided to go and do a master's in governance and leadership. I already had a master's in journalism. So I hold two masters, one in journalism and one in governance and leadership. So I did that course. But in between, when the crisis in Sierra Leone was ending and we're tying up the United Nations mission in Sierra Leone, then Liberia happened and we had to move to Liberia. So the United Nations Information director says, you have to go with us to Liberia. And I'm like, I would drag my feet a bit because I have 3 young boys that are coming up that I have to keep my eyes on. It's easier to think that you can leave them with somebody, but there's nothing like bringing up your children yourself. Exactly. Because even if you leave them with your grandparents, even if you leave them with your parents, if I'd left them with my mother would spoil my boys rotten. There was somebody who needed to keep a hand on things. My husband was an architect and he was all over. His architecture is not just in Ghana, he's in West Africa, he's in Spain, he's in the UK, he's in Dubai. So somebody needed to have a hand on the boys. So I decided to sacrifice. So I pulled back a bit. So even though I was in Liberia, I was not in Liberia full time. I did consultancy in Liberia. So each time they needed me, they called me and I went to Liberia. And that's how come I was back and forth. But I was on the UN consultants list. So each time they needed something to do with public information, they'd call me. In the interim, with all that, much as I was doing my work at times and going out and doing, then somebody else approached me and says, I want to do a lifestyle magazine. I hear that you can help me. So I went out to help with the Ago magazine, and that was a lifestyle magazine. And I thought that we could use it to tell stories of other people who had achieved. But unfortunately, the publisher and owner of Ago magazine was more interested in money than he was in stories being told. So it became more or less like a picture magazine. And I said, well, that's not the kind of thing that I want. So I pulled out of that. So from that, I decided that I'd go on my own. So I opened a media consultancy because I realized in the interim that female journalists were struggling to be recognized. You get to a certain point and nobody wants to pay you any attention because you're a woman. And so you have to work like 4 or 5 times as hard as your male colleagues to be recognized. And I realized that it would be good if we have women helping women. And let me say that when I was going through my journalism, most of my help came from my male counterparts instead of my female counterparts. So I felt that there was the need to break that and make sure that women could help women and make them understand that our enemies are not women. Women are not our enemies. We can help each other. So then I started with counseling young ladies who were in journalism. And today in Ghana, a lot of female journalists, when they stand up to talk, would mention that I'd helped them out and I'd given them support and things. So that's what I'm looking to do now. And that is where I am. Now, with regards to the Right to Information Commission, this is a commission that sought to ensure that people were able to gather information from public institutions. Hitherto, you couldn't easily get information from public institutions because they have sworn an oath of secrecy. Meanwhile, we all know that public information is something that is paid for with the taxpayers' money. So the information generated is for the public anyway. So I was sitting at home one day when I had a call and I was told that, they're setting up a commission to ensure the right to information. Your name has come up. So we want you to become a member of the board, the governing board. So would you come to the Ministry of Information so we can have a conversation? So then I moved to the minister's office, met with a couple of people. And I said, well, for God and country, why not? If it is information that has to be given, then if there's an act, then being on the governing board to ensure that people got the right information, to put the right information out, should not be a difficulty. So that's how I ended up with the Right to Information Commission. I did not do any application or anything like that. And let me say that from the time that I started working, my only application was with Ghanaian Times. And even that, it was a formality because I'd done my national service with the Ghanaian Times and they had said that they would keep me on. But for the record's sake, they needed an application letter. So then I put in an application and that's how I started with the Ghanaian Times. And that's how come I've ended up where I am today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that narrative. So I want all the participants that are on to just unmute and say welcome to Miss Elizabeth, who is our guest speaker today. And then if you have anything to say or any question from what she has shared, and then before we move forward to the other part of the interview. So please welcome Elizabeth.
Welcome.
Welcome, Miss Elizabeth.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I see some faces that I know. I see Tina, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. And then I see Ophebia.
Hi.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you for all for joining.
You can't see me, but I can see you.
We see
Say
Tina.
again.
We see Ophebia. We see Nkechi. We see Gladys.
Yeah, Nkechi, how are you?
There's one
Correct.
iPhone. If you can change your iPhone to your name, we see Mercy Lynn, we see Joma Victoria, we see Mafeng, another Samsung. Can we have you change
That
your name so
the
that we
Samsung is Mercy. It's
Mercy?
me, Mercy. Wait.
Okay, Mercy Lynn.
Okay, okay, Mercy. Okay,
Mercy.
so let me just say that a lot of the ladies are on that I know.
Yeah.
Messelina, I worked with Rights Information Commission. She also has challenges, so she had to leave.
Oh,
Fabia is my
Hello.
little girl. Oh,
no.
Fabia is my little girl that has just been born. I think I met her like 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh,
Mercy is my mate from Ghana Institute of Journalism.
you're all
Who
welcome.
else?
There's Gladys. Have we heard from Gladys? Okay. So thank you for tuning in, and we thank everyone who is here with us as you listen to Elizabeth's story. We really appreciate your contribution. Is there any question you want to ask her now before we go into her digging into her investment in women and women, her leadership and the breaking of the glass ceiling? So is there any particular aspect you want to ask question on for what she has shared as she takes a breather? Any question? So if we don't have any questions, Elizabeth, you're welcome. So we would like you now to expatiate more on your role of breaking the glass ceiling, because from what you've been saying, being a journalist in Ghana in the 70s and the 80s were not very friendly or comfortable for you as a woman. But it's also is amazing to know that the support you got during that time came from our male counterpart, which also tells a story. So I would like to know how through your journey you've able to change the fear in women to support women. How have you been able to do that?
It has not been easy. Let me say that even though I got a lot of support from my male counterparts, I also had male counterparts who were hitting on me. So
Hmm.
even back then, there was sexual harassment. It's not as if it was rosy. And even in a bed of roses, there are thorns. So there are always those who think that they would hit on you and they will bring you down. How did I move forward? I moved forward because I made up my mind that yes, I was going to excel. It was a matter of persevering to be excellent. And so with the little support that I got, my mind was made up. Um, Luckily for me also, I married early. So in getting married, I realized that that was a deterrent for some, not all of the guys, for some of the guys, but not all. But again, why I persevered was because my husband was of great support. Um, I had to travel a lot. I had to be out of home, sometimes in the night covering assignments. Sometimes you have to travel out of your comfort zone to go and do an assignment. He would step in. And let me say that my background also gave me a lot of help. My mom was always there. My mom was always there. If I had to leave my children and travel, and I said, Mommy, come and take care of my house, she would willingly. And that is because my mom retired early because of my father moving around and she finding it difficult to have transfer after transfer. So she decided to become a full-time housewife. So my mom had time on her hands. My sisters would also step in, my brothers would step in. So I had the family support. I had the family support, and then I had the office support. And even though there were a couple of females who would help me, they themselves were struggling. And then I realized that in the offices, it was more of competition between the women than it was teamwork. So then you had to build your own support system. which I did. I think that it was the fact that I had a good support system that propelled me to go further. My male colleagues, and I'm talking about my colleagues from school, GIJ, were also on hand to help. So even though we were not in the same offices, you realize that we had exchange of notes. And even to date, we still have the class system where we meet from time to time, we discuss issues, we let our head down and things like that. And Tina and Mercy, who are on here, Mercy, I think, is using the Samsung, will testify to that we give each other support. And so in giving each other support, we've been able to come this far. I noticed early that in bringing up younger women, it gave us more of a formidable force, so that you were not alone. There were a lot more other women. I joined an association, which was the Association of Women in the Media. But even with that, I realized that we could not sustain ourselves because there were a lot of differences and there were a lot of backbiting and backstabbing. And so it became difficult. But if you build a strong support base, and you have to build it yourself if you want to go up, they're definitely lifting you up and you're definitely pulling them up along with you. So definitely you climb higher. And that was the way I was able to get to the top. I asked Madam Giftia Feidazi, who was the GJA president at the time when I was going to Sierra Leone, why me? Because there were a lot more female journalists who were my seniors at the time. And she says, because I know you can do exactly what I want you to do. So building myself and making sure that I was strong and making sure that I had a support base helped me to climb to the top. And I felt that at the top, it was important to pull other young ladies and other women along with me. So that is what I did. And that's how come I have so many young ladies looking up to me. I have people that I meet for the first time and they're like, oh, you're my mentor. When I listen to you on Newsfile, you talk fearlessly. It's like you're not afraid of anybody. And I said, because I know I have somebody to lean on. I know I have a backbone. I know if push comes to shove, there are those in the journalism field who would stand up for me. And that is something that everybody has to build.
Yeah, I just want to come in here because when you were narrating about your career and your educational experience, I noticed that you were somebody who would do what you want, because you talked about that when you were posted to Sierra Leone, you did something.
Yes, there's somebody in your background.
I'm just muting them now.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I just muted them now. So with your strong will and your determination, how did you cope with fake news or inaccurate reporting of news in print journalism? How were you able to make sure that the things that were printed were ethical and were truthful and good information to your readers?
For the media that I worked with, and at that time, like I said, it was state-owned media.
Yeah.
We came into journalism knowing that your story would not be published unless you had two sides to the story. If you had not listened to both sides of the story, if your story did not carry both sides of the commentary that was necessary, it won't get published. So it wasn't me per se, it was the policy of the paper that your story needed to be accurate, it needed to be balanced, it needed to be fair, and it needed to be brief. So as a result of that, I did not have any contention, because if I went out for a story, then you knew that you needed to get both sides and make it balanced and make it fair. And so that is what helped us. It was coming into media pluralism that has caused the division where people think about sensationalism first. But that's not how I was brought up. So it's difficult for me to go that line because I need to listen to both sides for us as journalists, our opinions don't matter. When you're reporting a story, unlike today where journalists put in their opinions, when I was studying journalism, I was made to understand that my opinion did not matter. I should just publish the facts and let the public make their opinion out of the facts that they have received. Unfortunately, it's not like that today. And unfortunately, social media has even made it worse. Yeah. So people just hear one side of the story and they run with it. In my days and in my times of reporting, there was nothing like that. You couldn't report a one-sided story.
Thank you. That's quite interesting. And so, through your work, we've been discussing behind the scene, and you've been telling me how you've been involved with women, mentorship, and women supporting women. I want you to look at it from the point of view of investing in the women. So, how are you making the impact? What value is your investment in the women that you have had interactions with?
So I belong to 3 or 4 different foundations that deals with women. So the first one is about dealing with brainy but needy girls. So you see them in school, they have the brains, they get the good grades, but they can't continue school because they don't have the funds, they don't have the wherewithal to go through school. Some of them have finished basic school, can't continue secondary school. Even though we have a free senior high school policy, when they're going to school, there are basic things that they need to carry. Some of them don't have the money to even provide themselves with those basic things, sanitary towels, blankets, whatever they need to go to school. So there's a fund that has been set up to raise money to help girls in that situation. So that's what I do with Brainy but Needy Girls with the Abiola Bewa Foundation. The Abiola Bewa Foundation brings up funds for brainy but needy girls. And the girls that we support are screened. You just don't come and tell us that you're needy, you don't have so and so. We go back and do checks, who your parents are, what they do, so that we are sure that the girls that we are supporting are girls that really need the funds. Otherwise, you get everybody knocking at your door and wanting money. Exactly. So that's what I do. That's what I do with the Abiola Bewa Foundation. So I'm on the board of trustees as the chairman for that foundation. And yearly, we raise funds and we're helping 100 girls through school. We have 3 graduates from university so far. And so when we pick you, when you apply and we pick you, we see you through school from where you are straight through to university.
Fantastic.
And so we have 3 girls who have come out of university, but we are supporting 100 girls. With our BAPA Development Foundation, their interest is in sending teenage mothers back to school. But we make sure that it's not formal education only. Those who want to go back and finish formal education, we agree. And they have to go through various sets of tests to ensure that they can go back into the system, because there's always that stigma after you've had a child, the way you're looked at when you go into school, especially with formal education. But then we have to take them through orientation and reorient them to know that, yes, you need to make something of yourself. For those who don't want to go back into formal education, we send them into informal education. So we have hairdressers, we have seamstresses, we have bead makers, and that kind of thing. So something you need a trade to be able to support yourself and your child. And then we engage the families because normally with teenage girls who have children, the fathers don't want to be in the picture. So it's the mothers and the fathers of the girl that we have to deal with. Some of them have been open and have been ready to support the girl by taking the baby and allowing her to go back to school. Some of them are adamant, say that she is a bad girl, she went for it, and so they leave it like that. But we need to continue to let the girls know that they're not bad girls. Sometimes there is a circumstances around them that cause them to end up getting pregnant. So then there's that one. And then there's values for life. And for values for life, we're trying to work to get the youth. And so we have various youth camps, try to reorient them, because social media has so made the youth think that being Ghanaian is so wrong and being European is the in thing. And so we're using that avenue to reorient the children to know that, look, be proud of where you're coming from. I am Ghanaian. I'm proud to be Ghanaian. I'm almost always in Cameroon Slicks. Some of my friends laugh at me because I was born in the UK. My mother is Caribbean. Why do I choose to be Ghanaian? I choose to be Ghanaian because this is where I grew up. This is where I call home. And so take them through the culture, take them through being proud of who they are. So with Values for Life, it's a cultural camp. Teach them bead making, tie and dye, how to weave raffia and make baskets and stuff like that, so that even in their youthful stages, they have something that they can do with their hands, something that they can be proud of, something that they can earn from, not necessarily having to think that you need to get $1 million to invest in something before you be recognized. If you start small, you grow big.
Can I ask a question concerning the Value Foundation? Do you also incorporate in your curriculum on how to overcome the difficulties if they have to compete with men, how to build their confidence and overcome that chauvinism that they will face in future? Because this is a real issue. And I think if you have such a foundation, also teaching them to hold up their own in a men-dominated field or environment will also be an addition. What do you think?
That is the basics. That is the basics for the foundation. The foundation the foundation works to make girls understand that they can do anything they've set their minds to. You don't have to look at anybody, or you don't have to look around. Just believe in yourself. So the foundation is to get the girls to believe in themselves. And now you have a lot more girls believing in themselves. And that's why you have, even if you look on the music scene, you realize that a lot more girls are coming up who are making music and stuff like that for themselves. When you look at the fashion scene, there are a lot of girls who have gone into fashion, who have gone into dressmaking, who have gone into makeup artistry and stuff like that. And it starts from the girl believing in herself that she can. If you don't get them to believe that she can, then it becomes a difficult situation. But then let me not make it seem as if there are no challenges. There are challenges because there are still some families today who think that the girl should be in the kitchen. There are still some families that believe that the girl should be in the kitchen. There are still some families who believe in child marriage. So they give the girls out in marriage early. And then when the men who are old enough to be their fathers think that the girl is of age, she must come and live with him and do everything, even at that young age. So there's still difficulties that we are encountering. But again, let me say that we have been working closely with the gender ministry, and the gender ministry is doing a lot to ensure that females or girls are given the opportunities that they require to make them grow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What the enriching experience and tasks you have ahead of you. Well, thank you for all the work you do with the women. And I'm sure young men also benefit from the kinds of work you do.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to open it up to the audience. If you have any questions for Miss Elizabeth Asare, this will be the time before she goes ahead to tell us about how she managed her career and life, which she's mentioned a little bit, and then her aspirations, and then she will leave us with a word of wisdom as we round up this interview. So if you have any question for Miss Elizabeth, please can you unmute and ask? She's a journalist who has been to fragile countries like Liberia and Sierra Leone, war-torn countries. And she's written articles on almost every aspect of the life, economy, women, communication, name it. So if you have any questions. Any questions from the audience? Or you're all enjoying the story so well? Yes? Ashantewa.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
okay, let Ashantewa go first, then Nkechi. Ashantewa, please. Can she hear me? Okay, Nkechi, go first, and then.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if Miss Elizabeth has ever thought of like opening a school of journalism for, younger girls.
That's a good question.
No, I haven't. I haven't thought of. It hasn't even crossed my mind. I have my hands in too many things to want to saddle myself with an institution like one for journalism for girls. But that's food for thought. That's something you've given me to think about.
Yeah, and you don't have to necessarily make it just for girls. It can be an open school for journalism where male and female can come and benefit for your world of experience. Because listening to you, you are seasoned, you're steady, you enjoy it, you know the ethics of what journalism is all about. So it will be a very impactful and giving back to society for you to share this norms and ethics with younger women and men who want to go into journalism now, especially at this time in our life where fake news is more rampant than factual news. I think without any pressure, I think that was a very good.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. No thing.
Yeah. Can I say why I said this? Because when I finished my secondary school, that was the first school my dad wanted me to be a journalist because he knew that I could write and I was fearless. So I registered for the school in Nigeria, but the turtleneck was so much. At the end of the day, they took me and they untook me.
Ouch.
Because they switched my name for a male and gave it to somebody. I had gone there for the interview. I was ready to go start a new life as a journalist and the rest. And then that happened to me because I was a girl. Then.
That's what we're talking about discrimination then, where women were not were seen to be more liable to stay at home than wanting to venture into the fields of men. And Nkechi, let me ask a question. And how did you feel about that? Did that change the course of your life, or were you disappointed?
Yeah, of course. I never went back to journalism. Even when we found out what they did, my father was so mad because he was the one that wanted me to go to this school because he was working with the Daily Times of Nigeria then. Yeah, so he didn't know that there were these kind of things could happen. This our dad. They were so straight. They thought that if you merit something, you will get it.
Yeah.
So we kept telling him, no, Daddy, this is not so. People are there hustling for their children. People are there doing things. He said, no, it's not until it happened to me. But it was late. So I just went. That was when I now went back to register to go to do my A levels. And I just changed the course of my career. I never became a journalist, but I wanted to.
What year was that?
This was in 1983.
at the peak of it all.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Maybe he should have thought of sending you to Ghana because I had Nigerian classmates.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't know then.
you didn't know
And so a
that.
lot of publicity was not into journalism then, but
Yeah.
things were really
Exactly.
happening on the ground that we
Mm,
didn't know.
Yeah.
mm, mm.
Thank you. So
Mhm.
Asantewa, you can ask your question now, make your contribution. Can she hear me? Okay. Okay. Any other person wants to contribute or ask question? Okay. While we're waiting, if you have any other contribution, Elizabeth, I want you to share with us your aspirations and your No, before then, can you give the young women and mothers here struggling to have professional growth and personal well-being? Can you talk on that? How you are able to have a sound,
Okay.
maintain your home, and still have a successful career as you've done now?
So how I've kept how I've had a home, I've given a little bit of that. My mother was supportive. My sisters were there to fall back on, and my sisters, I have one older sister and two younger sisters. So um, I always had a fallback plan. I always and we are a family that are stuck together, so everybody helps everybody. And so that has kept me going. Again, when I was working in journalism, I realized that at some points when my mother or my sisters couldn't take my children in, I went to work with my children. Um, at the time, no one had heard of it, and so they felt that my children were going to come and bother me and trouble me. But I always made sure that I cut out a work plan for them. So whilst I was working, they were also working. And it's interesting when you get children to do what they want to do. So my children love to draw, they love to sing, they love music. So I created a space in the newsroom with my editor's support for my children. So when I had to go with them to the office, there was always a barrier that they couldn't cross. And then you give them art books and you give them things that they want to do. Inadvertently, they'll fall asleep. They are children. I mean, they can't go the long haul that I go through staying in the office from 8 to. And once they are well fed and I left them to run around. If you try to contain them, that's when they become very agitated and become very destructive, or they want all your attention because they think that you're not giving them the attention. But because the office where I worked was walled, even though there was cars would drive in, the whole place was walled. And before the car would come in, you have to come through a gate. And so definitely there are gate men so they were more like children of the office and not my children, because everybody kept an eye on them for me. But I had to take that bold step of taking them to the office and saying, I need to come to the office with my children if you want to work, because I have nobody to look after them. In the beginning, it was a little difficult. There were those male counterparts of mine who were not too adverse to having children run around the newsroom and stuff like that. You are busy working, and then you have children running and asking, and my children can ask questions. They just kept asking questions and asking questions. So I needed to write to the editor to say, well, if you want me at work, I have 3 children that I have to come to work with. There's nobody to take care of them. I will come and work, but I need to bring them. And because he saw that I was determined to work, and he saw the sacrifices I was making, and he agreed. Before I left Times, there's one thing my editor said to me that has rung in my ears for a long time. He says that you'd never use pregnancy as an excuse not to work. So he says, when you were pregnant, anything we give you to do, you will do. You go out and do your assignments as if there was nothing wrong with you. And then I said to him before I left Times that everybody's pregnancy is different. I probably am strong when I'm pregnant, but there are those who are very weak and who are very frail when they're pregnant. So everybody's pregnancy is different. So it's important that it is looked at in that light. Otherwise, people will think that you are strong, you are doing everything. And therefore, the other women are just making excuses. But some women really go through terrible pregnancy periods. So I said to him, well, I thank God that I am blessed and I'm strong when I'm pregnant, but not everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
So I came through that. Again, for being resilient, I did not make excuses for where I was sent. If I was sent out of Accra, I went out of Accra. If I was sent out of Ghana, I went out of Ghana. I did not make excuses. Whatever was given me, I put my best into it. And so I believe that that also helped me to climb the ladder to get to the top. Because I'd said to myself, I'm not going to make excuses. I'll do what I'm asked to do. If I can do it, yes. If I can't do it, and my editor will understand that for A, B, C, D reasons, I can't do it. He will give me leeway. But because I did everything I was asked to do, I think that when it came to the times that I wanted to ask permission to be out of the office, it came easily because he knew that I wouldn't just want to be out of the office for being out of the office sake.
Fantastic. Thank you. So as you were talking about childcare, this is a major area that many women get victimized against at the place of work when they are pregnant or when they have little children. I also had the same experience when I was working with British Council in Nigeria. After school, I had to go and pick my boys, and they became British Council children. My bosses and my colleagues will take them up, and I just want to encourage younger women with younger kids that don't see your kids as an obstacle. If you make them a priority, your employers will make them a priority, and you must be able to, like she said, put in your best and then make sure that your priorities does not change over your family. If you can find childcare for your children, fine. If you cannot, if you have a understanding boss, you can negotiate with them and they can find a space for your children in the place of work. And for those of us that are bosses in charge of younger women, we should also have empathy. We should not expect women with children or pregnancy to be super women. We have gone through it, and that's why it comes to what Elizabeth is saying: women supporting women. Whenever you've gone through an experience, it makes you a teacher. It makes you a better person to understand the other person's plight. It doesn't harden. You shouldn't harden your heart to see the other person as being lazy, or if you can do it, they can do it. No, we all have different level of endurance and tenacity and resilience to go through the same challenges, just because we're different people. And for that reason, what you can go through, not every other woman can go through that. So I also want to open the floor to the audience, because now she'll be telling us about her future aspiration and how she's coping with retirement. I think Asantua wanted to say something, and this is an opportunity. Any other
Yes,
person?
madam.
Okay,
Madam
please.
Liz.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy to be online listening to you. But there's something I want to know. So all this time you were working and the kids, how did they take it? Leaving them with your sisters, taking them to the office, how did they take it? Were they happy with that?
Would I say,
The
can I
kids.
say, well, yeah, I'm thinking whether they were happy. I think that sometimes they wanted me out of their hair. Sometimes they wanted me out of their hair. Again, when I wasn't available and they had to be with my sisters and my mother, it meant traveling out of Accra. So it meant a new environment for them. It meant them going out to explore other things. And most of the time when they were out of Accra, it's because they were out of school on holidays. So
Okay.
for them, it was more fun than it was being with me, because if they were here with me, I won't be available to give them all that attention that they needed. My mother spoiled my children rotten.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you.
grandmothers are for. I'm one, so I try. Okay. So any more questions or contribution as we wrap up this interesting and powerful interview? Anybody wants to add or ask question?
I just want to congratulate Liz on all her achievements.
Please, who is
Even though we were, even though we were mates at GIJ, I didn't really know most of her story. So listening to it now, I'm so inspired by it, and I thank her so much for giving of herself so much to others.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Okay. So then we'll go back if there are no other participants that want to share their thought to Elizabeth, please. Any other person? I thought I had. Okay. Can you share with us now your inspirations and how you've prepared yourself for retirement? Because this is something that a lot of women don't know how to transit from being a career woman to now retirement and what to do with the whole time they have for themselves.
Interestingly, I've tried to retire twice already. Each time I decide I want to go on retirement, something comes up and then I'm called. And then when you're called to duty, for me, saying no is a difficulty, especially if I know that when I'm put in that position, I can perform and I can encourage others to go on. Now I think that finally, I've decided to retire, even though as Antoine and Kate are not agreeing with me that I should retire. What I'm looking at doing is trying to get my children established. I said to my children, if I had known that when I was working and I was earning, I could do something else and establish like a business that would grow on its own. I don't have to be there. I just have to be an overseer. It would have inured to my benefit. I would have started that long ago. So now what I am doing in looking forward to my retirement is getting my children to establish businesses. And so even though they are in offices, I keep telling them that, look, you have something that you can do. So my daughter is off to China to explore entrepreneurial avenues for her creativity. She's designed bags, she's designed souvenirs, all kinds of things. And I said that that is a business extra outside of what you normally do. So take your leave, go and explore and come back. When you come back whilst you're still at work, I can oversee that business for you. One of my boys has started an eatery and Asantua was there. And so he has peppermint kitchen. So he does catering while he works with UBA Bank, but he does catering for financial institutions. So they order their lunch and stuff from him. He has caterers in his place who would prepare the lunch and send it off. So I'm overseeing that. The other two, one is an architect and one is into construction. So they're working together. And I'm like, fine, for now, that looks very lucrative. But as you grow older and as people start winding down on investments in construction and architecture, you must have something to fall back on. So one of them is into making shoes. And the other, he hasn't told me what he wants to do yet, but now he's thinking about it. So very soon I'd have maybe like 4 businesses to oversee, in addition to helping them with their children. So I'll be a grandmother looking out for my children as well.
Fantastic. And you have given me an idea. I also have children that are very entrepreneurial in their way. I think I can also step in to help them oversee the businesses as they pursue formal work. And I also think this is also an encouragement to other mothers here or other young people here that have office job, that you can start setting up a business career for yourself so that during the time of retirement, it's just a smooth transition. And the money you get from your formal job can easily be put into a constructive, lasting business that will not suck up all your savings and all your retirement benefit. Thank you for that insight. We'll be looking at it as a family, and we've already started doing that. We have so many businesses we have to revive and run with them, so that we can
Me
have.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I've been talking to my children about it,
Yeah.
and they're just taking their time. So I'm just going to double down and
Yeah.
make them do something on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
very
you.
important. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, now for your inspiration, you've already shared that with what you've shared with us. So leave us with some words of encouragement and of thought for us, that as we wind up this interview, now you've given me so many food for thoughts that I'll sit down and have a discussion with my girls and my sons and see where we want to go. So just round up by giving us some words of wisdom and encouragement.
For the young ladies that are on here with us this evening, let me encourage you to be bold, be assertive. Being assertive does not mean being aggressive. You need to be assertive. You need to come into your own. You need to make sure that there's always somebody you can fall back on. I keep saying that you'll be harassed. Every workplace, there's some sexual harassment. The men don't complain about it, but we will complain about it. We are women, we will complain about it. That is not what it should be. But make sure that there's always somebody you can talk to. When you bottle everything up, you end up hitting a wall because you bottled everything up, and it's so much that when you start talking to somebody, the person is like, well, you haven't done anything about it all this while. Why? And then you won't have an answer to that. So make sure that you're open. Make sure that you're true to yourself. It's important to be true to self. That is the first and foremost thing that you should make sure that you do. Be true to yourself. Make sure that you have a confidence. If you can't talk to your mother, if you can't talk to your father, and me, I spoke to my father more than I spoke to my mother. And I realized that because my father was a man, sometimes you tell him certain things and he will laugh, but he would take action on it. So it doesn't matter whether it's a male or a female, but make sure that you can confide in somebody. It's important to be able to confide in somebody. Most of the time we hold back because we think that if you tell somebody your problems, you'll be labeled first and foremost.
Yes.
It didn't stop me from telling people my problems. Those who would label me, but those who would help me would help me. And I never learned to keep things because we were a large family. Everybody was encouraged to speak their mind. So make sure you speak your mind. Make sure you don't limit yourself to you don't limit yourself to the environment that you are in. Make sure you don't limit yourself to the environment that you're in, that you speak up. Because most of the time we don't speak up because we are afraid to speak up. We are afraid of the repercussions for speaking up. But it's important that you speak up. It's important that you tell your story the way it is. It's important that you get somebody that you can confide in. If you have to cry, cry. I keep saying to people, I don't cry in public, but I cry. And when you cry, half the tension that you have within yourself is let loose. And I have said that I'm always available for people to talk to me. So if you have a problem, come to me, let's talk about it. But if you can't get in touch with me, there are other people that you can get everywhere you go. There are women up there that you can look up to and talk to. There's certain women that I was afraid to speak to, but I realized that the moment I approached them, they were so willing because they also have gone through difficult times. They also have had to break the glass ceiling. They also have had to contend with male counterparts. So it's not the first time, it won't be the last. So we just have to build our own confidence and make sure that we confide in each other. Again, to us as women, when somebody confides in you, let it be confidential. Sometimes somebody comes to confide in you, and before you realize, her story is all over the place, and she's like, "Oh, so why did I tell her in the first place?" So as older women, as women who have younger sisters, as women who are trying to bring others up, let us be mindful of the what's the word I want to use? Um, um, the feelings of others. Let us be mindful of the way the young ladies feel. If they have been able to come up to you to confide in you, it doesn't mean that they want everybody to know their story. So let us act as big sisters to each other. Let us act as mothers to the younger ones. Let us act as the grandmothers. And let us build that bond that will give them the confidence that they need to be able to succeed. If we don't build it in them now, we won't be able to get them anywhere. We need to, as women, stand for each other and make sure that the young ones grow into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, for taking time to come and share your stories with us. So before we round up, I just would like to talk a little bit about the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network International. For those who came in later, my name is Princess Nwakego Ibrahim-Pam. I'm the founder and chairperson of the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network International. We're an open network where we help build capacity for women. We help you to set up businesses. We help you to pursue your personal and professional career. We have a network of women in over 25 countries across different continents. And what do? We just support each other. If you have any issues you want to address, you can always contact me. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. You can send a message. We also have professionals that deal with domestic violence. We have a psychologists that can help with depression or suicidal thought. We have business consultants that will help you start a business from zero capital. We have people like Elizabeth, so many of strong and powerful women who are part of this network, who offer their services and their love and support to younger women who want to be mentored. So the network provides for mentorship of different types. We have coaching. Sometimes you have the free coaching, because on the network is always free training, free capacity building. Everything is provided free when you come through the network. But if the services that the members of the network needs to provide for you exceed something that they can give for free, they will also provide those services for you at a very affordable rate. So please join. It's non-paying, it's non-profit. We don't ask for any money. In every country that you are in, if you want to start a chapter, you can have 5-6 women come together, and I will lead you through the process, how you can use the platform to empower yourself and use the platform to make yourself visible. So the platform is for you. Is what you put into the platform that you will generate. So it's a platform that collaborates with anybody to give you the international stage you need to project what your work, to improve yourself, to connect with powerful women all over the world. So please, if you have any needs, we also have legal counsel pro bono to help with domestic violent women who would want to protect themselves. We work with shelters where you can have physical protection or legal representation. So we provide all these services mostly free because we sponsor most of the services. So please join us. And how do you become a member? Just by joining our programs. When you have, if we call upon you to come and train other women, you come and do it pro bono. If you need us to support you in anything that you're doing, we'll also be there for you. So it's an open platform for women. This network originally started for expatriate spouses, women who leave their home country to follow their husbands around the world, and in that process lose their friends back home, lose their job, and they find themselves in a new country where they are unable to work or to start businesses. So we created this network to give them that community where whatever needs they have, we can meet each other's need and then grow individually and professionally in our different careers. So this is who we are at the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network. So please join us. When you see invitation inviting you to our program, nothing is expected of you. Just come. Your time is all we ask for. Everything we do on the platform, we have sponsors who will sponsor our programs, and all the trainers and providers that we come on the program are all pro bono. What is the aim? The core aim is to ensure that we empower the next generation of women coming, or even create a safe community for every woman who needs a community to grow and to shine. So thank you very much. I also want to use this opportunity now to say thank you to Elizabeth for taking out this 1 hour to come and share your story with us, and all the wonderful women who have joined this interview. I hope spending 1 hour with Elizabeth has challenged you, has encouraged you, has given you some insight into how to go about the challenges you're facing that you've not been able to share with anybody. This interview is just an opportunity to bring women in leadership, powerful women who have gone through what you are going through right now and have made a success of the journey, so that you know that it is attainable to be a woman. It is attainable to be a woman, a wife, a mother, and a career woman at the same time. All we need
And a
is
grandmother.
and what?
A grandmother.
And a grandmother. You have the capacity to achieve everything when you have the family support, when you have the professional support, when you have everybody around you contributing and making sure that you're successful in whatever endeavor or career you have chosen. So please shout out to all the women. When you see another woman struggling, please don't hold back. Ask questions. How are you doing? How can I help? What can I do to make your life easier? That is all we are all about. Women supporting women. When you see another woman, don't feel intimidated. It's not a competition. You know, we are different. Just as we are different in our looks, so we are different in the way that life is going to treat us. And there's enough room for everybody to be successful. There's enough room for every woman in the world to be a leader, because you start being a leader right from your home. You don't need people outside to call you a leader. Right from your home, you start the leadership skill of making sure that you're accessible, that you're fair-minded, you're just in your judgment, you are somebody who is reliable, accountable, that keeps confidence of other people. That's the quality of a leader. And we all have those qualities if we start harnessing them and investing them first in our families before we can take it out to the larger society. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I would like everybody to
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to share this time with you.
I would like all the participants to unmute and say thank you to Elizabeth for coming and sharing her life story with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
ladies.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Elizabeth.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam
It's a
Liz.
very
Thank
educative.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been
So,
enriching and enlightening. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
for such great anchoring, Princess Ibrahim-Pam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. And looking forward to seeing all of you next week, Wednesday. This is a program that reoccurs every Wednesday with different women from different parts of the world, from different ethnic groups, religious background, tribe, powerful women that will come on the program to share their experiences for you. And then you can also go on YouTube to look at the past videos, interviews of past guest speakers we've had on this program. It's very enriching, very educational, very eye-opening for you. So we're creating a series of educational interviews for you that you can always go back when you feel low in spirit to say, oh, let me go and see what other women are going through. So if you Google the Expert Professional and Business Women's Network one-on-one interview with Princess Nwakego Ibrahim-Pam, all the videos of all the past special guest speaker we drop, and then you can choose on which topic you want to educate yourself. And so looking forward to seeing all of you next week. And thank you for my regulars. And I hope you bring 1 or 2 people more. So don't just be selfish to enjoy these interviews on your own. Come with friends and families to come and join in this wonderful interview. Elizabeth, my daughter's namesake, thank you for honoring me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So,
bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Love you. Thank you for
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely day.
Thank
Bye.
you, madam.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great interview.
Thank you. I'm glad that you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Looking forward to
Bye.
seeing